Next is transfer of business. Look, it may be possible that you are working as a proprietor of a business. You means he or she. And due to sudden death of the person concerned, of the proprietor, then the business will be carried over by his son, his daughter, his wife, or any other of his legal heirs. Then what will happen? Whether the same registration will continue or the new registration is required to be taken. So government said in section 22 subclause 3 of CGST Act 2017 that new person has to take a separate registration number, a new registration number. Why? Question is why? What is necessity? Because in GST, the registration is linked with the PAN number. And since after death, the new person who is the successor, his PAN number is different. Therefore, the same registration cannot continue for the new successor. Therefore, government prescribed that the law provides that the new person, transferee or successor, he must apply a new registration number. He will get a new registration unique number. However, in his application, he can write that he is taking over the business of the earlier person. This is one. Secondly, it may also be possible that the proprietor is not died. Rather, he wants to sell his business to another person as a going concern. Because suppose somebody wants to leave his business, he can very well transfer it to somebody else against consideration. So the question is, if the business is carried over to somebody else as a going concern, meaning thereby with all assets and liabilities, then what will happen? The government says, even in that case also, you are to seek a fresh registration, mentioning that you are taking over this as a going concern. What is the necessity of these two things in case of death as well as in case of transferring as a going concern? The reason is that the earlier business before death or before transfer, that business must be having certain unutilized ITC on the stocks available with him. Those stocks which have not been sold, the ITC must be available with the businessman in his credit ledger. Therefore, to the new transferee or the new successor, he wants to take the benefit of that ITC, because he will be selling those goods in future. And when he is selling those goods, he is to pay GST on that. Therefore, he wants to get credit of ITC which he has paid on, which his successor has paid on purchases. That is the reason in case of either in case of death as a successor or while transferring the business to somebody as going concern, new person needs to take a fresh registration. This is the reason. Next is transfer by sanction of scheme / amalgamation. Just as I had told you that in case of transfer, in case of death or selling the business as a going concern, there may be another probability also that two companies has amalgamated into a new company. Two companies, two private limited or public limited, two companies may amalgamate and form a new company. And this happens, this new company amalgamation or demerger takes place by filing cases in the High Court. Approval of High Court and tribunals is required for that purpose. So when the High Court will permit you, thereafter you are to get the registration of the new company with Registrar of Companies, and Registrar of Company will allot you a new number. When Registrar will allot you a new number, then within a specified period, this new company will be applying for registration, because this new company will be having a different PAN number, and the other two companies which have merged or demerged, which have amalgamated or demerged, those two companies have different PAN numbers. And now this new company which will be registered with the Registrar of Companies after approval from the High Court or Tribunal, in these cases, they will be having new PAN number and therefore they need to have a new registration. When they will be taking new registration, then the earlier ITC available with the old companies, he will be entitled, new company will be entitled to take ITC because he will be writing that it is on account of amalgamation or demerger of the case. So this is just like the earlier cases of succession as well as a transfer of business. This is also similar to that, but it is in case of the companies. Next is, we discussed so far that you are to take the registration if your turnover is more than 20 lakh of rupees. And then where we use the word turnover more than 20 lakhs, that was aggregated turnover. Word used there is, take care, that word used there is the aggregate turnover. So you must know what is the meaning of the word aggregate turnover. So before I tell you aggregate turnover, there is an explanation over here. What it says, that suppose you are an agent of certain principals. You are an agent, you are selling the goods on behalf of 3-4 principals or one principal. Since you are selling the goods as an agent, but you are having a separate registration number. So he says that if the turnover of the agent, his own turnover as well as turnover which he has made on behalf of the principal, if both of the turnover together exceeds 20 lakh of rupees, then he is also to take the number. Meaning thereby he is explaining, by way of explanation, he is telling you that aggregate turnover shall include all the supplies made by the agent and by the agent on behalf of the principal, both together to mean aggregate turnover. Then question is, what is the meaning of the word aggregate turnover? Because that is very important to know. Then only you can decide whether aggregate turnover is more than 20 lakhs or less than 20 lakhs. While discussing the provision for registration, I told you that if you are to take the number only and only if your taxable turnover, you are to take the number in the state where from you are making taxable turnover. Meaning thereby you can make exempted turnover also. Meaning thereby you can make export turnover also. So he says, while calculating the aggregate turnover, you are to add all these turnovers. Meaning thereby, suppose in Odisha you are conducting a business, and suppose you are making taxable supply, means selling of goods which are taxable, and say your turnover is 5 lakh of rupees up to a particular date. Now you are selling some other goods also which are exempt, and suppose those exempted goods are 16 lakh of rupees. So that 5 lakhs taxable goods and 16 lakhs exempted goods. When you calculate aggregate turnover for the purpose of registration, then you are to add both the turnovers. Means aggregate turnover will mean the taxable supplies plus exempt supplies. Now then he says, you might be having exports also. On exports also there is no tax, but those are not exempted supplies. Tax is there, but it is zero rated. Government says that if you have complied with certain conditions and restrictions, then export, no tax will be levied on exports. But if those conditions are not complied with, then that supply will be taxable and you have to pay tax on that. Therefore, he says that while calculating aggregate turnover, it will mean taxable turnover plus exempted turnover plus export turnover. All these things together. Not only this, he says whether these turnovers are within the state or it may be outside the state, all turnover is to be added. Means if your taxable turnover is, if suppose your exempted turnover is 16 lakhs, out of that 16 lakh, 8 lakh is within the state and 8 lakh is intrastate. outside the state. So somebody may ask, sir, whether only local turnover or within the state turnover or intrastate turnover is to be added? No, even intrastate turnover is also to be added. Although on case of exempted supply, interstate also there will be no tax. That will be exempted supply. But for that purpose, you have to add it to arrive at the aggregate turnover. Not only this, see further. He says supplies of person having the same PAN number to be computed on all India basis. Take care, all India basis. Meaning thereby, suppose you are doing business in Odisha and you are also having your business branch in Delhi. Now, when you are having business in Odisha, you are also having business in Delhi, then he says your PAN number will be same. Because of same PAN number, he says that your turnover has to be added whether it is in Odisha or it is in Delhi. So both of them are to be added. Meaning thereby, aggregate turnover will mean taxable supplies, exempted supplies, export supplies on the same PAN number, all India level basis, means of all the branches taken together has to be added. But only one thing is not to be added. Look, in your invoice of supply, when you sell the goods, at that time when you raise a bill, suppose you have sold the goods worth rupees 1 lakh. So you will write in the invoice this much of number of bicycles at this rate, total value say 1 lakh of rupees. Then you will add either IGST if it is an interstate supply and SGST and CGST if it is an intrastate supply. So what you will do, that add 18% say. So 18% comes to 18,000. So your invoice is 1,18,000. So now the question is that in order to calculate aggregate turnover, you will consider 1 lakh or 1,18,000 total of the invoice. So here is the answer, but excludes CGST, SGST or IGST or UGST. Means in order to calculate the aggregate turnover, you are to exclude, you are not to add the tax which is written on the invoices. So once again I repeat, because you will be having questions on this topic. What is the meaning of the aggregate turnover? In questions, turnover will be written exempted turnover, taxable turnover, export turnover, then within the state, outside the state, with CGST, SGST, without CGST, SGST. So you should be careful, read this clause very carefully, the meaning of the word aggregate turnover, then only you will be able to do your examples to solve your questions. The practical questions which may be asked on this topic, what is the meaning of the aggregate turnover, whether that particular supplier is required to take registration or he is not required to be registration. This is to be asked. This may be asked in the question itself. So now we will be moving to the next slide. He says supply by job worker to principal. Now he is asking, somebody asked the question or government wanted to explain it to for the businessman, that suppose you are a job worker, means the person who is doing the business, he is a job worker. Then what will be which value is to be taken to calculate the aggregate turnover? Why this question is asked? So first of all, for this purpose, we need to understand what is a job worker. Look, whenever we are manufacturing certain goods, a supplier, when he manufactures certain goods, at that point of time, suppose there are 10 items which are used, suppose let us see manufacturing of bicycle. In manufacturing of bicycle, suppose there are 10 components which are required, and after getting those 10 components, we can assemble them and we can make a bicycle. Now the question is that those 10 components, I may manufacture in my own factory and then assemble the bicycle, or I may be manufacturing only 9 items, 8 items, 7 items, 6 items in my own factory, and I may get 4 goods, 4 components from the market. I can purchase it to them. Okay, no problem. So the manufacturing components plus trading components I will put together and make a bicycle. Now the question is, it may be possible that in those components which I am manufacturing in my factory, those components, some work on that component I will be doing myself in my factory, but I do not have certain machines that may be costly to do some work on those components. Therefore, what I will do, I will send my those unfinished components or raw material to make it as a component, and what I will do, I will send to a job worker, to an outsider person who is specialized to do that work only, because he has purchased that type of a machine to do that job only. So what will happen when I will send the goods to him? Suppose the value of my goods is 25 lakhs. It is more than 20 lakhs straight away, I am telling you. Suppose it is more than 20 lakhs, it is 25 lakhs. I send those goods to job worker and tell him, look dear, you do some job which I am telling you, you do this job on these 25 lakh goods. So when he, with his machine, he will work on those raw material. And after that, that raw material, he will be sending it back to you. Now look, his job work may be only of 50,000 rupees on that 25 lakh goods. His job work, naturally, he is only to do some job work with the help of machine, material is mine. So his approximately value, suppose I say it is 50,000. Now the question is that whether job worker is required to take the number or not. And if he wants to take the number, what amount will be taken as his supply? Whether this 25 lakhs, which I have sent to him, plus 50,000, making it 25 lakhs 50,000, or only 50,000. So government says, no, you are not to include in the aggregate turnover the value of the goods which have been sent by me. Those are my goods. Those are not his goods. He has worked only for 50,000. He has rendered services only of 50,000. So only 50,000 will be added to his aggregate turnover, not 25 lakh 50,000. So this has been explained. Thereafter he says, what are special category states? I have already told you that government will prescribe that these states will be special category states, which are written as Jammu Kashmir, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, and Uttarakhand. I discussed earlier also. Then so this is what so far, that who is to seek the registration mandatorily, number one. Now the question is, persons not liable to registration. Whether there can be any person who will not liable to registration. So he has written, what are the persons which are not liable to registration, even if their turnover is more than 20 lakhs. Even if their turnover is more than 20 lakhs, even then they will not be liable to registration. What are those? Number one, any person engaged exclusively in the business of goods that are not liable to tax or that are wholly exempt. Simple thing, if my goods are not liable to tax, what does it mean? Not liable to tax means those goods which are outside the purview of GST. 4 items we discussed earlier: alcohol, petrol, land and building, and there was one more item also. So all those 4 items, since those are not liable to tax, those are outside the scope of GST. And third, next is, if the goods which I am selling or supplying, or services which I am selling or supplying, those goods or services are exempt from tax. So if it is exempt or wholly or is not liable to tax, but I must deal exclusively in those goods. Be careful. Exclusively, meaning thereby, if I'm exclusively dealing in these items, then I need not to take the registration. But if along with these two, I am selling certain taxable goods, then while calculating the turnover, this supply, exempt supply plus the taxable supply, both have to be added for the purpose of calculating the limit of 20 lakhs. That's B is, but here be careful, the not liable to tax which are outside the scope, those are not to be added. Only exempt goods are to be added, not the goods which are not liable to tax. Then is an agriculturist. An agriculturist, agriculture को हम लोगों ने अभी exempt किया हुआ है कि that is not to be added to the turnover to qualify this. What does it say? An agriculturist to the extent of supply of produce out of cultivation of land. If out of cultivation of land, whatever produce comes and he sells only that product, then he need not to seek registration. Means अगर कोई सब्जी वाला है, वेजिटेबल ग्रो करता है अपनी लैंड पर और वो सेल करता है, तो उसके ऊपर टैक्स जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. फल वाला है, फल बेचता है, लेकिन उसकी लैंड में वो कल्टीवेट होकर के उसका प्रोड्यूस होना चाहिए, लेकिन उसके साथ कुछ कंडीशंस लगाई हैं. देयर आर सर्टेन मोर कंडीशंस आल्सो. These are written in the next slide. I will be reading it. Then he says, government on the recommendation of the council, GST council, may specify certain category of persons who may be exempted from obtaining registration under this act. Means government always have the power. They can allow that such specific persons need not to take registration, or such persons, specific persons are compulsorily required to take registration. So government may decide on the recommendation of the council from time to time according to the circumstances in the country, what is the requirement of the business people, what is the requirement of the citizen of the people. They request the government and government may come out with a notification. Look, this persons, it is a hardship for these persons to take the registration and therefore exemption can be granted on them. Now in case of agriculturist, we will discuss what will happen. He says, what is the meaning of agriculturist? Look, as I told you in chapter 2, definitions are given. So this definition is also given in chapter number 2 at section 2 in subclause 7. Here he says, who is an agriculturist? So very strict definition is given. Therefore, when you want to find out whether his produce will be taxable or not, you have to be strictly follow these conditions. What it says, agriculture means only an individual or HUF. This is the first condition. The person concerned must be individual or HUF. He cannot be a partnership firm, he cannot be a company, he cannot be anything else. Who undertakes cultivation of land, and he must undertake cultivation of land also. How? Should he do it himself? He says by own labor, is himself, or by the labor of family, or the land can be cultivated with the help of family members, or by servants on wages payable, or he can hire few persons and pay them wages in cash or in kind, or by hired labor under personal supervision. Means he has to get it done from the servants in his personal supervision or the personal supervision of any member of the family. Means produce of the agriculture will be tax free. He will not be required to seek registration, provided he must fall within the definition of agriculturist. Next is, any person engaged in making taxable supplies on which taxes payable under RCM under section 9(3) is not required to obtain registration. What does it mean? It means if there is a person who is supplying services, but he is covered in section 9(3). When the supply chapter will come, we will discuss what are the persons who are covered under section 9(3). Such as, one simple example is such as an advocate. Advocate is covered in section 9(3). Services rendered by an advocate, then the advocate is not supposed to get himself registered. Advocate is not, although he is making supplies, although value of his supplies may be more than 20 lakhs, but advocate is not required to be registered because his supplies are under reverse charge mechanism. Means the person who is receiving the supplies, he is to pay tax on that. Therefore, there is a notification number 5/2017 relating to this. So, meaning thereby, in such cases where supplies are made which are exempt under section 9(3), in 9(3) services are there and in 9(4) goods are there. Here we are talking only of 9(3). So, in that situation, even if the turnover is more than 20 lakhs, he need not to get himself registered. Now, this so far was in relation to where your turnover, aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs as the case may be, depending upon the state from where you are making the taxable supply. Now, the question is, there may be persons who are other than these suppliers. There can be certain persons who are other than these suppliers. So what will happen in those cases? So he says section 24. This section 24 says that in respect of these suppliers, it is mandatory to have registration whether your turnover is less than 20 lakhs or it is more than 20 lakhs. If it is more than 20 lakhs, you are covered earlier. But now if it is less than 20 lakhs, even then it is less than 20 lakhs, you are compulsorily, mandatory, you are required to be registered under GST. What is that? Number one, persons making any interstate taxable supply. Means if you are supplying certain goods which are taxable and you are making interstate supply, means even of 100 rupees, even of 500 rupees, even of 1000 rupees, less than 20 lakhs. He says, if you are making interstate supply of any amount, you will be liable to be registered. Compulsorily. 20 lakh benefit will not be allowed if you are making interstate supplies. But interstate taxable supply. Look, taxable supply. Suppose you are making supply of exempted goods only exempted goods. Then even if whether you sell it within the state or whether you sell it outside the state, means whether it is intrastate supply or it is interstate supply, in both the situation, in case of exempted goods, no registration will be required. But he says, if the supply is taxable, if the goods are taxable, then even if it is sent for 100 rupees, you need to take the registration. Now, when this law was implemented on 1st July 2017, at that point of time, there were certain persons who were having immovable properties, either commercial properties, which are situated in other states. Means suppose I am residing in Delhi, I have some property in Odisha. Now I am not supplying any other goods or services. I am not supplying any other goods or services. Therefore, I am not required to take registration. But that my property is a commercial property which is situated in Odisha. Now I have given that property on rent. I am in Delhi, my property is in Odisha, I have given it on rent, I am receiving the rent. So now question was whether it is an intrastate supply or it is an interstate supply. You will say whether renting of property is a supply. Yes, renting of property is a supply. When we will read supply definition, I will explain it to you in details at that point of time. But renting of property is a supply. So when I have rented a property in interstate, the question was whether I have to seek registration. Suppose that value is less than 20 lakhs. Suppose rent collected by me is less than 20 lakhs. So whether I need to get myself registered. Originally, it came to, yes, you have to get registered. So the people thought and they approached the government, sir, what are you doing? If individual who is not carrying on any business, he has a property, he has rented out his property for his livelihood, it is not more than 20 lakhs. Why you are asking him to get registered? Simply because that property is located outside the city, outside the state. So this is not fair. Therefore, government considered it. The issue was raised in GST Council, and all the finance ministers put together, they decided, yes, this is a hardship on those individuals who are not carrying on business. Therefore, government said, okay. So in this case, in case of services, not in case of goods. So here it is written in blue ink. Read it. Person engaged in supply of services only. Renting is a service. To give property on rent is a service. It is not supply of goods. So he says person engaged in supply of services only will be required to be registered if his aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. So government said, okay, if you have a property in other state, then you need not to take the registration if rent collected is less than 20 lakhs. So it is not only for rent. I have just tried to explain it to you with the rent. There are certain other services also which are mentioned in notification number 10/2017. Now you will ask me a good question, and you should ask, sir, why we are saying it is by notification number 10/2017 IGST dated 13/10/2000. Actually, what happened when this Act, GST Act was implemented into the country, at that time it was implemented in a hurry. In a hurry means, no doubt for 15 years discussion went on, but when it was decided that it will be implemented, after that sufficient time was not taken to discuss the law which has been made. So that law was very small. There are very less number of provisions. But everywhere, in every section, it was written in the manner prescribed. Meaning thereby, this manner can be prescribed later on. So that is for that reason, GST Council is making meetings almost every month. As I told you, 40 meetings have already gone by GST Council to decide various issues which should have been decided prior to implementation. But since in a hurry the law was implemented, some time barring was there. That is why government said that these decisions will be taken later on and notifications will be issued. Means this is just like, as you see in case of Income Tax Act, you know, every year budget is placed before the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and necessary changes are discussed. And those amendments thereafter, after passing in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, President gives his assent, and then only those amendments are carried out. But in indirect taxes, in GST, the amendments are carried out with the help of notifications. So here, no, in budget, nothing is required that the amendments are to be discussed, and this is because here every month there is a meeting of the finance ministers of the country, of the finance minister of the states. So no further discussion is required. So whatever is required, the GST Council discuss it and then recommend it, and then government decide it and issue a notification. So here by this notification, government said that in case of services, not in case of goods, again I'm repeating, in case of services, if you are providing a service of this renting of property, then even if it is less than 20 lakhs, but it is an interstate service. Intrastate में तो कोई problem ही नहीं थी. Interstate was creating problem because even if a supply of 100 rupees interstate was making it mandatory registration. But here, even for in case of services, even up to 20 lakhs, you need not to take the registration. Next item is casual taxable person making taxable supplies. Casual taxable person. These are two words. One is casual taxable person. One is non-resident taxable person. That non-resident will come in the next slide. But I'm taking it here itself. What are these two persons? For them also, it is mandatory registration is required. What are these? Suppose you are in Odisha. You are registered in Odisha. You are doing business in Odisha. Now what will happen? Suppose there is an exhibition which is being held in Delhi. You are selling a product which you want to present in that exhibition so that customer can see and place order on you for future. Now that person will come to Delhi along with goods. Along with goods. He will place those goods in the exhibition. People will see to it, discuss it and place the orders. Now what will happen? That person is not registered in Delhi. He is registered only in Odisha. So government says, look, if you want to do like this, then you are welcome to come to Delhi. But 5 days before the exhibition, 5 days before the exhibition, you have to get yourself registered temporarily. Means casual, that will be called casual taxable person. And that will be allowed for 90 days. Means you can carry on the registration for 90 days and it can be extended for another 90 days. That's all. And there are certain conditions also. But he says that if you are a casual taxable person, means you are registered in one state, you are coming to the other state only for 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, up to 90 days, then you have to seek a casual registration. Similarly, if you are a non-resident person, means you are in foreign country. Here in India, that person from foreign country wants to come to India to take part in exhibition. He wants to place his goods for public in India exhibition ground. Now he says, in that case, that person also needs to get himself registered in India for temporary period of 90 days, further extendable to 90 days, subject to certain conditions. But it is mandatory. Otherwise, he cannot come. He cannot participate. Whether he sells goods here or not. But see, question is whether he is dealing in taxable supplies. If he is not dealing in taxable supplies, he is dealing in exempted goods, then there is no problem. So casual taxable person, it's mandatory for them to seek registration, or non-resident persons, it is necessary for them to take registration when they want to come to other state. Person who are required to pay tax under reverse charge. Earlier we were talking that advocate is not to take registration because his supplies are made on which tax is to be paid by the recipient under reverse charge. Means all those supplies are made by the advocate, but on that tax is payable by the recipient. So he says, if you are to pay tax under reverse charge, then it is mandatory for you to take the registration. Means if that person himself is simply receiving these services or goods, but he himself is not liable to be registered because his turnover is less than 20 lakhs. He says even then he has to take compulsory mandatory registration if he is receiving these services under reverse charge. Then he says, next condition, person who are required to pay tax under section 9, tax paid by e-commerce operator on specified category of services. E-commerce operator, when they receive certain services, on that they are to pay tax. So he says e-commerce operator, when is liable to pay tax under section 5 or section 9, then it is compulsory for them to seek registration. Means in a way, e-commerce operator, if they want to carry on the business, they have to take registration, then only they can do it, whether their turnover is less than 20 lakhs or more than 20. Non-resident taxable person, I have already explained to you. Persons who are required to deduct tax. Now, as you know, in case of income tax, there are TDS provisions. Means if I am making payment to somebody for job worker, contract, etc., or interest, commission, I am supposed to deduct TDS. Similarly, here also in GST, on certain services or goods, we are to pay TDS. So he says the person who is to deduct TDS, he is liable to be compulsory, mandatory, he is liable to be registered. Then is person who make taxable supply on behalf of other taxable person, whether as an agent or otherwise. Meaning thereby, suppose you are working as an agent and you are selling goods on behalf of another principal. So he says whether your services, whether your goods or services, your own turnover is less than 20 lakhs, but you seek to get the registration if you are selling the goods on behalf of others. Then is input service distributor. What are these input service distributor? Input service distributor means, suppose you have a company which is registered in Odisha, but it has its branches in say 8 states, 8 different states. It's a big company. Its registered offices in Odisha. So now what happens in such a case? The head office makes contract or agreement with so many suppliers that you raise the invoices on me, even if you are rendering services to my other branches. He comes into contract. Say, suppose he appoints statutory auditors. When he appoints a statutory auditor, that statutory auditor has to conduct audit for all the branches. But he says, you raise a bill on me. So this chartered accountant will raise a bill on Odisha, and that input tax on that, the input service distributor will be able to distribute it to his branches according to their turnover. There are two ways. Chartered accountant can bill the branches separately also, but in some cases the head office says no, you don't bill to the branches separately. You make an entire bill on me, I will distribute it. So input service distributor means the services which has been received by branches but billed at head office, that he's called input service distributor. So he says it is mandatory for the input service distributor to seek the registration, then only he can distribute the ITC to the other branches. Then he says person who supply goods through such e-commerce operator, means earlier I told you that e-commerce operator has to seek registration mandatorily, but now he says if you are selling your goods or services through e-commerce operator, means from that platform. Suppose you want to sell the goods from Amazon, you put your goods over there, or you put your details over there, or you get the order, you supply that order. But he says if you are supplying goods or services through an electronic commerce operator, then it is mandatory for you to take registration even if your turnover is less than 20 lakhs. Then every e-commerce operator, it is who is supposed to collect tax at source. There earlier it was that e-commerce operator if he deducts TDS, but here there is another provision which requires e-commerce operator to collect tax at source. In income tax, you must have understood there are two things. One is tax deducted at source, one is tax collected at source. Similarly, here also there are two taxes, tax deducted at source or tax collected at source. So if you are responsible for collecting tax also, then it is mandatory for you to take registration. Then last is every person supplying online information and database access or retrieval services from a place outside India. If a person is located outside India and he is supplying online information or database access to you in India, then he says to a person other than the registered person. A person who is situated outside India, he can supply online information and data access retrieval services to a person in India who is registered. If he is registered, no problem. But if that company outside India is supplying those services to a person who is not registered in India, then government says that supplier has to take a registration in India. Supplier, not the person in India who is a small person. Suppose you take some service from outside country or from on your website or through your application app. That service through app is coming to you, but you are a very small person. So government does not want you to get registered. Government wants that person who has given the app, he must get it registered in India and pay tax on that. And he is to do it irrespective of the limit of rupees 20 lakhs. And lastly, such other person or class of person as may be notified by government. Means government may notify what other person are mandatorily required to get registration. So this was all about, we have discussed today that who is compulsorily registered, who are exempt to be registered, and who was mandatory to be registered shall, using word shall, every supplier shall, if his turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. So all these persons, so now you have to remember all these items, that who are registered, who are not to be registered, and who can claim exemption, and who will be mandatory registered. This you have to remember in brief, and in detail I have already explained you. And once you remember these in brief, later on, as and when our further chapters will be covered, there also these items will appear over there, and immediately you will remember again these issues which we have discussed today.